Welcome to Bama Drone, where mostly old school country boys go high tech with their thermal drone. We're located where the sky is so blue in Sweet Home, Alabama. I did the same thing last night. I got the wrong intro in there, and so I didn't think when I went for this one it would play, but it did, even though we're not actually live. So I'll edit that out. So I'm here. I'm here with Joseph Price, philosopher, soldier, sergeant. You were a sergeant.
No, I never was a sergeant. I was.
Oh, you never made sergeant. Okay.
No, I didn't.
I was trying to remember and think about that. We served together for a long, long time. From when did you join? Was that the unit that you were in? 5.5 Deuce Bravo Battery?
Yep. That was. Oh, I want to say I got into 5.5 Deuce probably November of 2006. I joined in 2005. Or no, it must have been early. Must have been early 2006 because I joined in like the end of 2005, September, I think.
Okay. And so let me just tell you a little bit about what we're doing so you understand, kind of thing. A few years ago, one of the former first sergeants for Bravo Battery 552, Robert Maggot. Do you remember him?
Not well, but sort of. The name strikes.
I got you. So he was a first sergeant before Heather Smith took over. Do you remember Heather Smith?
Not directly.
Okay, so was I your first sergeant when you came to the unit?
Yeah, you were my first permanent party first sergeant.
Oh, wow. Okay, so these will be interesting things to talk about. So I look forward to that. So tell me about so this is something that came about. Like one day I got a phone call from Maggot's wife. She said, Rob's not doing good. Rob can't think right. Something's wrong.
Oh, no.
And I was like, oh my gosh, it turned out he had some kind of a brain tumor and I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta, can he talk? And she's like, well, yeah, he can talk. He can remember long-term things, but he can't remember much about like what happened 10 minutes ago. And I'm like, so I call him and we record all these stories, right? I try to start getting these stories recorded from all these times we had together to reshare them because I would hate for those memories to go away. And that started a program called Heroes I Know. And, and Benson and I started it together. You remember Benson?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we made a coin.
Nice.
And we recorded these interviews and put them on the thumb drive. And so this was what we're doing. I'll get a coin for you and I'll send it to you. Oh, and the idea is to get your story before we're too old or too sick to tell it, right?
Yeah. And can I get a copy of the video when you...
Yeah, that's what's going to be on the thumb drive. We got a titanium thumb drive, so even if we fight the Russians, it'll be okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So introduce me to Joseph Price. Where are you from? You kind of look like Nietzsche sitting there, or
I know
some philosopher or something. You look good.
It's a choice, I guess.
Yeah. So, just take a moment and tell me about you, where you're from, how you grew up, and just talk, and I'll ask questions and we'll figure it out. But this is kind of like, I want you to think of this as the Joseph Price show, right?
Okay.
I want you to think of this as, if I'm talking, then we're not getting where we want to go. I want to hear your words, and then I'll direct them as we go. And it's kind of like, how Joe Rogan's willing to do a long form content. If we're on here for 3 hours, it doesn't matter. I'm enjoying it. I got nothing to do today. Okay.
I know pretty much all of the things that I really, really want to say. Oh, but you disappeared.
Yeah. So you're now, I can do that.
Oh, I see.
So what's going to happen here is so Joseph, tell me about growing up. Tell me, where are you from? Tell me about mom, dad, whatever. Just tell me about you.
Okay. Well, probably ought to start at the beginning, where it began, when I was born on my birthday. I was born May 26, 1986. I was born on a rural road somewhere near Red Mesa in Durango, Colorado, in the back seat of a Cadillac delivered by an EMT pig farmer. And we lived in a little rural area in Colorado, with a property. My parents are very salt of the earth people, and they like living there. I remember just shreds of Colorado, and I always liked it. We had 13 acres, and they had pigs, and my mom gardens, and it was a time I remember quite fondly. We moved to Utah when I was around 3 or 4. Um, my brother was born with eye conditions, aniridia, and glaucoma, and it required a lot of direct care that I think probably was the reason that they moved. I think they were kind of liked where they lived and weren't really people who were built for suburban life, but I think that's informed part of why they moved, at least. I don't understand. And a lot of these tales are not strictly like I share in them, but they're not really entirely of my possession. So I'm limited in how much I want to, without permission, get into shreds of those. But I was raised Mormon, LDS, and that's a complicated topic that I'm interested to get to. It's a very fundamental piece of who I am, even though I am not a Mormon anymore. I'm an ex-Mormon. But that doesn't mean that that's a complicated one. We'll get into that. So grow up, I get to be as a kid, I was always interested in learning and science. Carl Sagan's Cosmos, my dad used to watch. A lot of things my dad used to watch on TV had large impacts on me. I'm a forever fan of Star Trek. It informed my interest in science and a future that I thought seemed like a place humanity could go, and it would be marvelous for us to go. Kind of informed my understandings of ethics and a lot of different complicated things that are quintessentially part of why I ended up on the path that I ended up. I was like, my namesake is, I believe I was kind of named after Joseph Smith, the founder and prophet of the Mormon Church. And that has been a thing. Names and meaning of language and things of these natures are all very, very much tied together into something that we're going to get into in a bit. And it's interesting how the threads of happenstance weave, because these things that have informed and compelled me to be who I am, I think are very valuable pieces of something that I think, of a message that I think humanity needs to hear. And my life's work that I've always dedicated myself towards, that have never been really clear to me until recently. And I'm a person always striving to take seriously life, and I'm always striving to improve myself and be a benefit to the people around me, and to do so without malicious intention or self-deception. So when I was young, Sagan, Einstein gets me interested, or Sagan and Star Trek gets me interested in Einstein. And I used to want to be an inventor, because my family is, we're people of intelligence, just I think naturally interested, the lines of being, the history we come from, interested in trying to be intelligent. And we're naturally have some gifts that I think all people probably have. And I was compelled by curiosity and interacting with Einstein through Cosmos that I was able to do a thing that gave me access to really an interesting method of thought that would have otherwise been not available to me. Because eventually, later in life, I was diagnosed with ADHD, and growing up, like that was kind of a poo-poo disorder, like how can you not have enough attention, But science has informed me about certain things involving that. It's my hippocampus, my midbrain. There's a place that doesn't operate like normal with other people. There's some imbalance or something that is still a blossoming science that isn't my expertise to really get too deep into, but it does make it difficult for me to keep facts and details, route memory facts in order, so names and dates and who exactly was that quote from, they escape me. Doing symbolic mathematics in my head, the values, my RAM is low. My storage capacity is great. I got a good hard drive, but when I'm doing operations like that in my head, adding 3 digits to 3 digits, when I get this digit down here and start going down the second line, by the time I get here, I've forgotten what this digit was and I have to restart. But Einstein and his thought experiments made accessible a discrete mathematics to me, systems of language logic that defy that, because I'm good at remembering words and language, and it's become a tool that I've used as a coping mechanism that's enabled me a unique perspective that turns in some ways what is a developmental disorder, a learning disability, into a unique perspective. I went a different route, and it's a little slow in certain ways, and it's unique and valuable in other ways. So Einstein's thought experiments, racking my head around relativity. I wanted to be as smart as he was. I wanted to do what he did. The ideas of, you're on a train and you throw a ball and you drop a ball, and the ways in which the motion that the ball has taken depends on the observer, and the way that time operates based on your speed through space and time and the interconnectedness of space and time. It's absolutely fascinating, and there's such a mystery to it, and then getting down into the quantum physics, it's absolutely fundamentally baffling. And I would invent thought experiments like him, and I would come up with just the most unique and ingenious conjectures, and sometimes I'd get so excited because I thought about something in a way that nobody had thought about. And I really thought I got it. I thought I got the mess. I got the secret of the universe this time. And as I was composing that conjecture into a functional hypothesis, and in order to make it into a theory, I'd compose it into a functional theory, which would require me to go, well, how would I test this? How would I experiment to verify that this actually maps onto reality? So then mentally I would compose, well, these are things that would align to show you if this, then that, if that, then this. And then I'd go, wait, but that doesn't happen. So back to the drawing board, and I'm a dummy. That was a lot of effort, and I thought I had it, and now I look like an absolute fool because I'm so excited. I was wandering around I know the secrets of the universe.
You sound so much like Elon Musk. It is amazing, right? So I was just listening to Elon the other day, right? Um, Elon talked about stop optimizing things that you shouldn't have made in the first place, right? So Elon said he explained exactly what you just said about how I would get this whole thesis together, and then I would bring it and think about it and put it together, and many times all of that work is throwaway work to get you to something else. But
Yeah,
you get so defeated when you get there, and you've even found this new concept. Then you've taken 3 steps to optimize it 4 ways. You've made it even better. Then to realize, oh, actually, that wasn't what I was supposed to be making. It was this other thing that led me here. And what he said, Elon, and this is my point I'm trying to make to you, is stop optimizing your first thought. He goes, take it and realize that doesn't defeat. He goes, you need to realize that at least 20% of your ideas have to be crap. He goes, and many times there's more than that. It's even more than that. Like 60% of your ideas are crap to get to 40% of the good ones that need to be optimized. So anyway, I just say that to say, Joseph, I think you're freaking so talented, man. Keep going, okay? Keep going.
Oh, absolutely. And there are components about Musk that I would like to sort of touch on, but not too deeply, because I'm not too terribly interested in this to tell people things about that. I'm telling a story about me and humanity, and I'm gonna focus on trying to do that as well as I can. And I think there's some real truth to that. It's something I've been learning in life. A lot of things have been coming together, finally clarifying to me, and I think there's truth to that. Like there's no shame in having an idea and being excited about it and exploring it and having it collapse. It at the time back then I used to find that very defeating. I did. I found it embarrassing because I would get excited, but I honestly, like, looking back on that, I don't have a value judgment on that at all. Like it's good to be curious. It's good to be excited and passionate. And if you embarrass yourself a little bit, then use that as a growing experience too, because life is a complicated thing, and moving forward is important. And there's a lot I will get into addressing about that as this conversation proceeds as well. But I'm trying to not put the cart before the horse. So Einstein, back to him, informed a lot of those things in me, and something that exercising those, I would rack myself against these things, and it was really wonderful exercise of the mind, even if and in a lot of ways that self-defeat was a useful thing for me, because there's something that happens to people when they look around themselves and know that they're, a little off or a little different, like my brain didn't work right. So it made me approach things different, and because it made me approach things different, I saw things that were obvious to me that other people didn't see, which made me think that I was smarter than them. And it's very easy to let those things inflate your personal ego and start misapplying certain tools of logic, which is a very important piece I'm going to get to in a little bit, about something that's happening in our world entirely. So I'm kind of losing my train of thought on that. All of these little where was I?
So you were telling me about how Einstein and his exercises help inform certain thought processes that you were going through. And then you talked about, going through the process of having ideas. And then you talked about how sometimes you felt like you were real excited about them.
Oh
And
yeah,
then,
yeah, the
you know,
passion.
yeah. So that was kind of the thought process you were going down. Tell me, you were going down Einstein. I don't want to stay chronological
No,
necessarily.
we don't need to. And I hit apophenias, and I lose, like, it's who I am, and I think fundamentally it's not just me. You know, I lose my train of thought, or get distracted, and it's hard to remember where you are.
Yeah, I love it. That's a very interesting thing about ourselves. I love it. I appreciate it. It's almost like an eraser.
Yeah,
It's weird when it
apophenia
happens.
is sometimes the term that philosophers use for it.
Yeah. What now?
Apophenia is
Okay.
when you take a topic down to a place that it just kind of starts to lose its own meaning to yourself.
I love it. I love it. I so just tell me more about your interest as a kid, and then tell me about maybe even a trauma as a kid, and what was high school like? What was it like when you got your first car? Do you remember your first love interest? Do you remember
Oh
getting
yeah,
rejected? Tell me about whatever that
yeah.
might.
I've had a lot of misadventures in those places in my life. I kind of, because of my forgetfulness, I've kind of been a little rough on cars because I'm not very good at regular maintenance. And I'm a very forgetful person. And yeah, I kind of some doozies on those, but over time I've become a careful person a more careful person about that sort of stuff. Um, I worked a lot of different jobs. I've had a lot of interests. Growing up, we were not the wealthiest of families around us. We my parents made a living for us, and Lord, my parents, like, I don't understand how they were able to do a lot of what they've done with their lives. My dad was a draftee to Vietnam, and he went in with a knee injury, and then he was drafted to Vietnam, and his knee injury got worse, and he just was all, like, from the day I was born. And I was born. I'm still not as old as my dad was when I was born. Like, I'm the seventh child of nine children. Actually, I'm the seventh child of a seventh child, which is pretty interesting. My dad's a seventh child. He My dad kind of has spent his life getting jerked around by the VA and his exposure to Agent Orange. My mom's still fighting the VA against trying to get them to acknowledge or do, like. And my dad got defeated, so, like, about, because I almost did with the VA, because when you're dealing with these sorts of problems in yourself, like Agent Orange was itself, and my dad never talked about Nom, so I don't really know, but I imagine there's an awful lot of potential PTSDs and traumas and stuff. And Mormon approach, or at least our level of it, was kind of convoluted in mental health, because there's a belief in that God will never give you anything that you can't handle. And so if there's something jacked up in your head, it's just make believe. And that's horrible. Horrible misunderstanding of what even that message might mean. But I'll get to those things too. So, interacting with systems that might even be easy from the outside for people, like the VA. The VA didn't jerk me around too much, certainly not compared to my father. But it was still very challenging for me to access care from the VA, and I was not very good at advocating for myself, and oftentimes I was made to feel as though my inability to keep appointments and things of those natures, it would was making me into somebody who was robbing other veterans of the care that they need from the limited resources, because this doctor has made time for this appointment, and you, in your inability to executive function, missed your appointment, and there on the poster in the back of the wall is like, keep your freaking appointments because, it's hard to get everyone in here. There are a lot of good people trying their very best with limited resources in the VA to help people, and yeah, there's all sorts of experts with all sorts of opinions about that, and it isn't my particular field of study. I just have my own individual experience with it, and I'm not here to condemn anything or to praise any, it is what it is, and would like I would like a lot of things in our society to improve drastically quickly, but we'll get into some of those too. These are all intertangled and tied together, and as I finish through some of these stories of my early life, we'll get into the work that I've done.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So tell me more.
So being raised, a little on the not so rich side of where we were, and being a person like my dad was, trying to make a living as a person with disabilities, that and Mormonism and their be fruitful and multiply thing got him wrangling 9 freaking kids. I don't know how the hell they did it. But I do know pieces of it because we had to fix things, like if the thing broke, there's no repairman we can afford. That was a thing that made me very good with my hands. I learned how things operate very, very fundamentally. Like, you can't fix a thing without understanding how it works, and it made me interested in how things work, and it made me good at working with tools. It made me aware of tools, and that's a skill and a power that a lot of people underestimate, because when tools, when used effectively, really drastically amplify human capability in ways that cannot be properly calculated. But tools misused by humanity can cause absolute devastation that makes us all suffer. And that's why I think taking with very clear sobriety the importance of dedication to intellectual integrity, to academic honesty, and to not be lazy of thought is vital for our survival as a species. And it's a civic responsibility that we need to regain, because we've lost some things that are very, very important in what the spirit of America is. And it pains me because I love this great nation. I love this great nation. I also have deep shames about this great nation, and I love this nation's people, and I am disgusted by this nation's people. And it's very deep topic that I would very much like to address, but I want to do it in a way that is productive and not finger pointing, because that's part and partial to what I am learning finally in my life, is the way we move forward from where we are, from the absolutely atrocious reality that we're about to step into. It can be prevented, and I want to share a message in the best way I know. This is me. I didn't imagine I'd be here today doing this, but the reason I made the video that you watched was because I felt an extreme moral and civic responsibility to put the entirety of what I want aside and throw it to the wind to do the strongest possible action in my capability to stop this train from screeching off the tracks. And if there's one thing I'm really good at, that I've had to become good at, it's being able to cling desperately to sanity in the face of just possible improbability. And I want to share that with everyone, and I'm going to. Okay, so I've kind of ran myself there. But.
Yeah, so do me a favor just for a second, and let's look at your tripod situation.
I'm on the desk.
Whatever's happening,
I'm
you're
shaking it, right?
causing the camera to move and
yeah. I've got my hands on the desk, and I was like,
all right. So
I'm pumping down because I'm a passionate man.
Yeah, I get it. So you said you want to get your message out the best way you can. We need to minimize the shake.
yeah. I'm sorry.
So I love your message. Okay. I love the part that you're passionate about. What I'm not clear about, and we don't have to get now, but I just want you to put it in your head. I'm not clear about what you say the danger is. I'm not clear about what you think alternatives are. And I'm not clear about what you think we should actually do. Okay. And why. Okay. So you don't have to
we will get into that. And I think it's going to be actually productive because our nation has not been having these conversations in a productive way, period. And it's because of what I was mentioning about tools, mismanagement of tools. Logic is a very, very powerful tool of humanity that is being used very, very wrong by humanity. There are places which systems and tools of logic are being mismanaged that have made it impossible for us to effectively communicate with each other. And it needs to be addressed. And the media environment needs to be cleared of a lot of the toxicity that's produced by this ineffectual use of logic. And we'll get into that as well. But I will let you ask a question because I don't want to derail myself, and I like to kind of keep a structure to this.
So tell me about you. So here you are in high school. Tell me about Joseph Price and what he's thinking about as he's going to high school. He's a senior. What you're just put yourself there. What's going on in your world?
Well, I mean, I always kind of had a lot of difficulties in school. I've always had kind of a lot of social difficulties. The way I interact with people, I've always kind of had a purity of spirit, but I've also been extremely misguided in a lot of my life, and I've a lot of learning lessons. Kids are not the nicest of beings a lot of the time, and that includes me. And a lot of learning lessons, a lot of painful lessons. I tried to treat people well. I tried to understand where people came from. I approached a lot of the questions around me from a different perspective that kind of made me force myself into an outcast position. I endured just immense amounts of physical harm and bullying. I'm brutalized as a child by bullies, but that's who and why and how aren't terribly important to me at this point, because in a way those things have brought me to where I am, and I would never tell someone how they should approach treating how they feel about people who've harmed them. I can only speak towards how I feel about people who've harmed me and how I feel about the people that I've harmed. And that's a piece of logic that I think people are misusing, is that people want to tell other people how they should feel. And it's inappropriate. We only have access to our reality. Me and you are talking right now, and in I can see you physically. I can see you, even though it's through a camera. But it's not just through a camera; it's through my eyes. The you that I'm looking at, exists inside of my head. The head that I'm pointing at with my finger exists inside of my head, because my brain is informing me of that. That is my reality. That is my universe. And now, the sensory things that I have access to, like my organs, let me have access to your reality and communicate to your reality through you. But your relationship with your reality is fundamentally something about you and something that you need to understand on your own terms. And people telling you should statements about that is absolutely toxic. It's killing us. And people really need to get a handle on that.
So look, dude, we are meshing, man. We are meshing. So I wrote an essay called Your World, My World, Our World, right? You just outlined that whole thing, right? Like my world, I'm in heaven. Okay. I've decided I'm in heaven. I want you to join me in heaven. I'm happy. There's no issues unless somebody decides that I've done something wrong. And if that's the case, then I'm going to try to adjust to it. But if you'll join me in being happy, I will be happy. Okay. Your world.
I think it's important to try to work
right
with
your
people.
world.
I think ethical living, but this is also important. This is a perfect time to address this, is that Joseph Smith in Mormon religion. The story is that as a boy, he looked around him at all of these arguing sects of Methodism and Protestantism, all these different pieces of religion that were around him, and he just saw flaws in them, and he went into forest and approached the divine himself, asking to be given truth. And the story goes that he was given access to truth. And how everybody wants to interpret that story is their prerogative. I interpret that story in a unique way. I took it to heart. And if Mormonism says that what Joseph Smith did was a good thing, I just didn't understand how it could be a sin for me to want to do the same thing. Because I saw a world with a lot of different religions, and none of them were producing the sort of good in the world that I thought religion should be producing, that the religions said they should be producing. And so I didn't take to heart that what everyone was telling me I should incorporate into my view of my reality was worth doing, because it's not working. It's broken. And if it wasn't a sin for him to do it, why is it a sin for me to do it? And so I didn't fully believe in Mormonism. My whole family, proud. My dad was proud all his sons went on Mormon missions, because that's important. And Mormons are good people when they're following the light, and they try very hard to follow the light. And it's something that I've cherished in me. It's something that's guided me. Mormonism is valuable for what it produced in me. But Mormonism also really doesn't like it when you say, yeah, but you're wrong. And in doing so, I've caused incalculable pain to my own family in pursuit of truth. And it sucks, totally sucks, because I am obligated as an ethical actor to pursue truth, to pursue my relationship with the divine. And I've been put into a situation where doing so makes other people feel wounded, because they don't want me to do it. They want me to do what they think I should do in my pursuit of the divine. And it's a misapplication of logic. I don't think God likes that.
Look, you're 100% right. Your path is the same as mine. I love Joseph Smith and the thought process that I look, dude, you and I are keep going, preach it, tell your story. You're exactly right. So keep going.
In doing that, because Mormonism teaches good lessons. that all religions teach. I find it fascinating how many people we are watching die today, today, and over the horrifying last few years, we have watched people who believe in the same God killing each other in the name of that God. And both of their religion says that God doesn't want that. How does that how does that connect? How does that make sense? You tell me. Because if following the religion, if holding to the path is how you do it, you got to listen to the prophet. Well, funny that. Because I don't think God likes what your prophet is telling you to fucking do. It breaks my heart.
So I get it.
Please.
I get it.
Okay, well that's it. I'm passionate, but I'm okay.
So one of the interesting things, okay, about my concept of all this is there's only one part of this where I think that if you were to adjust your thinking just a little bit, that you would see a lot less conflict. Okay.
Well, I mean, potentially.
Okay, so just one place, okay? Just it's one critical place.
I'm
And
always willing to listen.
And that is the judgment that somebody that is still following some religion that's right for them is in any way wrong.
Oh, I don't believe that.
Okay, good.
I believe that every single person should approach their relationship with their reality and what they think is behind it on their own terms.
Right.
I think it's good to listen to people and let their opinions inform how you incorporate your and interpret and model your system of connecting to the world. But organized religion uses some of this to tell people that they should only model after them. And that's a problem.
Right.
That's a problem. And the other part of that problem is I am going to share a lot of information with people. And I share a lot of knowledge with people. And I don't want your money for it. If somebody is asking for your money to educate you, there's a problem with that because the motive becomes impure. Now, there are systems that we need in society of informing people about how to do things, how to use tools that require certification and evaluation of expertise because it's important. But learning and understanding and growing and wanting to be informed and better are things that are impeded by the attempt to certify and test. And it's a problem I had even in olive school, because nine kids in a home that's barely holding it together, and by miracle holding it together. I don't know how they did it. I could not do it. I fancy myself a strong person, and it would break me. My parents are stronger than me in many ways, and I deeply admire them, even though I have had a bone or two to chew with them, and although I don't hold them in any negative light in my mind, I just want to help everybody, every single person. I want them to live better, and I this is me trying my best. And yeah, so
one of the concepts that I've learned through spirituality, and this could apply to Christianity, Mormonism, Hinduism, Buddhism, is you have to find your own peace, right? You can't find peace from somebody else. You can't Somebody else can't tell you their technique for doing peace and it completely directly relate to you. You will always take some of it and some of it won't. Okay. And
Yeah.
most of the people that do well in modern religion, the people that go well to the Mormon church, the Baptist church, the Catholic church, those people do well that just take it at the surface level, that they're kind of going through the motions. They're good Christians. They're good enough. They're going to go back home on the weekends. And you're not one of those guys. I'm not one of those guys. When you go in there, there's no doubt as to whether you're playing a game or whether you're seriously going towards the spirituality that you seek. You are a true seeker. You want the truth. And
and that is me and my model of reality. And I'm not here to profess what other people's models of reality are, but I do have a message of how we can move from a world that is dysfunctional into a world that's functional. And it involves tools of logic that are important. And so here's where this connects, because in losing religion, when I did lose, because I didn't go on a mission. I told my father that I didn't know that I believed this enough to be sent to teach people this. I thought it was wrong. And that was a deep offense to my dad. And I understand why. And it kind of broke his dream of having all of his sons go on missions. And I hate that I had to do that to follow what I see as my path in relationship with the divine. And I, like all people, I hope that he has learned and grown to understand, the pieces about it. And I'm hoping to help people understand where our limitations of logic lie about those things. Because let's backtrack.
okay.
I'll just wait for another question.
I got you. So, it's interesting to think about disappointment, right? And how that can affect us. And we know that, we've disappointed our father, or like there's things that I've done in my life that when I was in 8th grade, I elbowed this kid. This kid had gone into a convenience store behind me and he had stolen a pack of cigarettes and I knew about it.
Yeah.
And for some reason, when he walked out of the store and we was walking down the street beside me, I thought it was my place to take judgment on that kid for what I thought was a bad thing. And I did like that. And I literally snapped his nose.
Yeah.
And to this day, I'm like, who the frick am I to do that? Right. And I'll never forget. I'll also never forget one day my dad helping me build a kite. I'm a tiny kid, right? And we build this kite together, my dad and I, sticks and tape and string and cloth, and tail. And we go up there to the local school yard that's a block away, and we're going to fly the kite. And my other kids had these plastic kites that they went to the store and bought, and those kites flew really good. And our kite didn't fly so great, but it was one that we had handmade. And I judged it that we had a bad kite, and it's weird to think about our judgment on stuff. My dad doesn't even remember that, but I take that as, what the fuck was I thinking,
Yeah.
How can I translate that and not make that mistake again?
Yeah.
Because we judge others and not enjoy the experience. We lose the heaven that we're supposed to be in. We lose that sense of euphoria that comes when we connect. Remember when we table 12'd and we all stood up there and held that flag?
Yeah.
That's a shared dream that we work towards together. That's what families do, but you got to develop those things, and you can't, you just got to work together, and you got to all follow your own path. So tell me how you think that the lack of a mission trip has affected you.
Oh, I mean, I joined the Army instead,
Okay. Your
You know,
mission trip was to South Korea with me.
yeah, I just, and it was conflicting in the house after I had said that I wasn't going to go on a mission. Frustrating. To my father, and pretty disobedient of me, and I just kind of felt like I needed to give everyone some space, and the army kind of I wanted to do something of service anyway. And I always respected my father, and I wanted to serve my country, and he went in the army, and I thought maybe if I went in the army it would help me help learn to protect people, and give me some of what the grit that he had, and hone my skills as a person, and just I wanted to protect people. And that has been just a life altering decision that at this point in my life I'm very grateful for every piece of it, because like in my life, as you said, like when I was a kid, there I've I've done a lot of things that I find deep shame in. I've hurt people irreparably. I think that's a human condition that happens, but in doing that, I've never deceived myself about my behavior, at least as well as I have been able to, and I've been able to see the shame in those behaviors. I'm rightfully ashamed of them, and that has allowed me to inform my moving forward to not do it again. To not make these mistakes. I tried my best to do what I could to repair the damage I had done, and then I moved forward in the best way that I could, and committed myself to no longer causing that sort of harm again. And it's the best that I can do with it. And in saying that to myself, I have to be academically clear with myself and understand that when I have been done harm by people, as long as for me and my world, because I won't tell you or anybody else how they should approach those who harm them, me and my world at this point in my life is such that those who have harmed me, every single one of them, every single person who has harmed me is true. If they have not hid from that, if they have felt the shame of what they've done, and if they have committed themselves to not doing it again, I forgive them. I forgive them, and I want good for them. And that is a very important lesson of my life, and it has freed me of so much burden to be able to do that, because that is an act of selfless service that is powerful in a way that is profoundly powerful. I find that when you really commit to doing a thing for someone else, it's just like when I do art. When I try to force it for my needs, it escapes me. But when I'm doing it here for people, there's a power in my reality. There's a muse. There is a mystery that joins me, that turns my endeavor into an impossibility. I've seen some of the things I painted I could never have done. It's people pat you on the back and say be proud, and you did that, and don't be so hard on yourself. And yes, you shouldn't be too hard. You should be fair on yourself. It's not bad to be hard on yourself as long as you're fair on yourself. But it's also the gift of feeling that force is beautiful, and it's a priceless present for no reason. It's a boon, it's an aid, and to see it and greedily declare it to be a possession of yourself, and to try to make people glorify you because of your ability to hold it, to have it flow through you, it is a sin. It is a sin of the highest order, and it brings everything to ruin every single time. That's where pride is the downfall of man. But when you don't do it, when you do let people know that it wasn't just me, there's a reality there. When you give credit to the thing that you felt that you knew was there, it likes it, and it helps you more. And there's a man. I was so lost for I've been through dark times, very, very dark times. I lost God. There was a time where I legitimately didn't believe that there was any benevolent force in the world at all, a long time. Like I wasn't convinced that there wasn't, but I thought probably not. I looked at the world and I felt that way. But it didn't change how I treated people or what I considered ethical action, because my construction of my relationship with the divine, or with my reality, or my whatever I conceive, that I feel that I am telling you this story about, that you can believe it or you don't, I don't care. I'm telling you that if you try it, you might be surprised. But those things aren't what informs the modus of operation, my modus operandi of how I ethically interact with people. Like, I don't do evil to people because God doesn't want me to do evil to people. I don't do evil to people because it's bad for me and bad for the world. Just patently by logic. That's just fundamentally true. Like, you don't need God to tell you to be good. You are good because it's patently true that it's bad for you to be bad, and it's bad for everyone else to be bad. To be self-centered, to be megalomaniacal, to be centered around the entirety of yourself, to do actions to benefit you, it leads everyone around you and yourself to ruin. But when you do the alternative, or at least in my reality, that has been a thing that's I've proven true to myself. Results may vary, my friends. In my reality, when I step aside, and when I am grateful for the boon that I get when I happily produce, I make rosaries. I've been making rosaries for people in my life and giving them to people in my life. I don't like to charge for my art. Because of the VA, I don't have to charge for my art anymore. Because when I was charging for my art, my joy became a prison. The thing I was using became it sucked all life out of it. And I could force myself to paint anything, but I was doing it for myself. And the muse, it just isn't there for you to do things for yourself. It's there for you to do things for others. And when I started making rosaries for people, I started producing good works again. But this is the funny thing in my life, is when I was doing that, it wasn't just the rosaries that changed. It wasn't just the quality of the rosaries that changed. Things in my life, mirrors would occur. Sparkles of synchronicity would happen around me. When I did, there were sometimes doing that work would become outlandishly difficult to do. But just dedicating yourself calmly to doing it anyway, because you want to for someone else, and it's okay, and just calmly dealing with whatever those stressful things that are trying to pull you away, and you keep on the work, and when it's completed, all of those little elements, that energy that was impeding you, it gets sucked into the very fabric of the events that are happening around you, and only serves as energy that booms into a greater blossoming of an event that fulfills everybody around you. It is a magical thing in my reality. I hope the same is true for you in yours.
Yes, yes. And I'll tell you that most people don't see things the way you and I see them. So thank you. Yeah, you're right on. You're right on. You're right on. Preach it, brother. Preach it. Preach
Yeah,
it, brother. Preach
I mean,
it. It's
it's a
love.
lesson that's only becoming clear to me recently. And you know when it happened.
Tell me about it.
Oh well, after the army, I posted that video and it talks about what happened to me. I kind of let everyone know a little TMI because I was doing what I thought was a civic duty. And I still kind of do. I think people need to wake up and take some of what's happening very, very seriously and stop addressing the world the way that they are. When it comes to public figures, I have my own opinions about them that I have formulated myself, and I'm not here to tell you what your opinions about those public figures should be, because everyone else is already doing that. And I trust that you are able to look at the facts alone instead of other people's opinions and decipher from them what it is. And to me, it doesn't look to me, when I look at the world and the public figures operating in it, it doesn't look wonderful. It looks terrifying. It looks absolutely terrifying. But I know that at a place in my life when everything was falling apart, when I'd gotten out of college, and the trauma that I suffered in the army, my PTSD from, well, I mean, you can watch the video that describes it, but there was a sexual assault that happened to me, and it really disrupted me in a way that made it really hard to hold it all together for a long time. And I got out of the army and went to college. I worked really hard to get my bachelor's degree in English and philosophy, And after that, when I started to try to engage employment, that was when I discovered that I was too broken I can't operate on schedule, which is a problem. I'm bad at self-management. That's a problem. If I'm unable to escape from situations that are getting toxic for me, I become volatile in a way that is terrifying to me. And I put myself in a mental hospital because I almost killed a guy I was trying to save, because he was not he was taking advantage of me, just callously, and I knew it, but I was trying to do for him what was done for me. I was trying to show him something, and he thought I was just such a pushover that he basically tried to dominate me in my own house. And I just snapped into soldier, and I pulled him in. I just grabbed him by the shoulder, sucked him his sleeper hold, and I was whispering in his ear, "I could kill you, I could kill you, I could kill you." And I hold him. He's down on the ground, he's passed out, and I'm holding him. "I could kill you." And I know, like, it's a blood choke. I gotta let go. And I go to let go and I can't. And he's dying, and I go to let go and I can't, and he's dying, and I finally let go and shake, and I went and got the last gun that I had and dumped the bullets on the floor and put it on the kitchen floor, and I called the police, and I had myself mentally institutionalized. And I haven't held a gun since that day because I'm broken, and managing that is difficult for me. And I know that I need the ability to not be in situations I can't escape, because I know the signs that are dangerous for me, because I've encountered those situations and I've learned from the mistakes. Because I asked him for forgiveness for that, and he did forgive me for that. But I didn't save him. He's dead. And it was a very painful lesson, and one that I carry very, very close to me. And that's I feel a lot of ways about it. I tried so hard.
Look, our stories have so many parallels. Okay, I haven't been in the same situations you've been in. Okay, but I've given every pistol I got away. I don't have guns around. I don't want to kill anybody. I never. If I had to fight in a war again, I'd be a chaplain. But I sure as hell ain't gonna go try to kill another human being. I'm just not gonna.
It's not where I would kill to protect certain people in my life still, if I had to. If there was no other way. But what I'm doing now, throwing myself onto the internet and exposing my humiliation to the world, was an act I did to prevent that from happening.
Well, good.
What I'm doing now is me giving every piece of myself in an act of selfless service to prevent that from happening, because it's going to happen if people do not listen to me. It is going to happen if people do not listen to me. And it terrifies me. Please listen to me. Please help me make this world better, because everybody knows it's broken. Everybody knows it's broken. You know it's broken. You know it's wrong. You know we can teach people for free. You know not everything has to be about money. You know it. I worked hard for this degree. You know how expensive this degree was? Fortunately to me, the country paid for it because of my service. But I worked hard for this, and when I got it in the mail, I felt so accomplished. But I failed classes in college on purpose for philosophical reasons, because I was there not to be certified. I was there to learn. And those assignments got in the way of me learning. I was there for the right reasons, and I didn't need assessment in the way. So I'll fail your class because I don't care about this paper. It is meaningless to me. Because I would have pursued a PhD. I could have pursued a PhD. My brother has a PhD. Owen, my little brother Owen, he's a postdoctoral biomedical researcher at Harvard University. And I'm fucking proud of it. And his funding is getting slashed, and his attempts to cure cancer are getting stripped away by people who want money. People who are greedy. People who have had everything all their life, and it's not enough. It's not enough for them, because they want to control and dominate, because they're the smartest people on the planet. Well, I'm not the smartest person on the planet, and when you look at people, the entire concept of is this person smart is a stupid idea, because if you look at Howard Gardner, multiple intelligence theory, it's patently obvious that people are smart and dumb in different ways. I'm a buffoon at some things. I am an ignoramus at some things, and I am a genius at other things. I can't dance to save my life. Can't do it. But I've let go of myself enough to be able to. But I have no talent for that thing. but there are dancers of marvelous genius that like do things that like it looks like magic to me. There are people who can do in their head just symbolic mathematic in a way that that's not me. I'm dumb as shit. But looking at people like that, oh, he's smart. He's dumb. He's good. He's bad. These declarative statements about what people are is a misuse of logic. It's a total misuse of logic, you know? And it's funny to me because we're approaching a time like I'm able to do a lot of these things that I'm able to do because I have my smartphone. And my smartphone gives me access to my brain can't remember these dates and times and it can't do this math, but I got a little buddy who lets me access these pieces of information. They let me remind myself, refresh my memory, you know? And when I was going through these dark times in my life, and I was saved. I was saved by people who selflessly saved me. You know, they advocated for me, and they're the reason I'm here today. A lot of people are the reason I'm here today. You know, the thing that's going to happen is not about me. There's a philosophical revolution on the cusp of happening, and it isn't even an invention of mine. I'm hoping to be a catalyst for that reaction, but a catalyst doesn't produce the reaction. It just happens to be the thing there that enables it. And it's my life's work is to do that. And I hope to be able to do that. And I don't particularly care if it is me who does do that. As long as it's done, it's good. You know, it's a sort of thing is like plagiarism. Why is plagiarism wrong? Why is plagiarism wrong? That's a good question. Well, I tell you, I offer you this. If society wasn't sick, plagiarism wouldn't be wrong.
Cool. Yeah, I have no issues with that. I totally understand. If we take consciousness as a collective thing, then philosophically, I totally get it. I totally get it. Repeating someone else as I get it. I've got no issues. Yeah. I'm telling you, Joseph Price, you and I think very much alike. I have no issues with any of the concepts you're saying. The only place that I think that you and I probably differ is the peace of the world. Let's think about something just for a second. Let's agree that our world is not at peace. Okay. Okay. But I'll tell you that my world is at peace. Okay. I'm not upset. I'm not disillusioned. I'm in heaven. I'm very happy. Okay. Let me finish. I've chosen to be there. Okay. I've chosen that even though our world is fucked up like crazy, if that's the way you judge it, then I'm going to be in the world, but my world, I'm happy. I'm in heaven. I'm using Jesus's and Joseph Smith's concepts to maintain living in the light, like you talk about. Okay. Let me tell you where you are. I don't know, but if you were where I was, we would be having a different conversation. You've decided that you're not happy, that you're not in heaven, that our world is causing you angst. You're saying that our world should be fixed. What I'm saying is let's not worry about our world. Let's do this. Me and you, let's fix the two worlds we can fix and mesh it together like you and I are doing. And then over time, we add more and more people like Jesus did with his disciples and his fold. And what happens is over time, the world that we see, our world, begins to look less chaotic. Because we don't begin to see the things that are happening. I want you to, I'm serious about this. I want you to stop fomenting so much on how to fix our world if you wake up in the morning and you aren't happy in your own world?
No, well, the thing is, like, the way I approach reality and what I see in reality has come into focus in a way where I do know what I want to do. I want to do something that is going to help people address a problem in society, because my world my world is filled with people I love deeply, and the world around them is coming to attack them and hurt them, and they're scared. They're so scared. And and when I look and I see ice raids that are taking that are harnessing American citizens and veterans and detaining them against their rights, because somebody thinks that they shouldn't, oh, they released them. Well, they violated them, though, didn't they? I look at you know the happenstance of my name. I'm starting a school called the Joseph Charles Price Center for what exactly, for ethical, the Joseph Price Center for Ethical Growth, jcpceg.com. And this is part of the thing that I want to say, because the school that I'm starting, it's not named after me. It's named after Dr. Joseph Charles Price, who was a orator in early American history, and in my opinion, the single best living example of the American spirit, and a kindred spirit to me. And he was a man born from a father who was a slave and a mother who was a free black woman. And because of the way that things were done, the child followed the freed mother in freedom, and she sacrificed everything to allow him to be a man of letters. And society around him had enough altruism that allowed him to be educated. And if you look up the story of this man who died at the age I'm turning this year, actually, you'll discover that he took that help that was given to him, born from the lowest of position in society at the time, and he became who I consider to be the greatest model of the American spirit. And I hear people talk. I look at the internet, and I hear people who don't really, they want to be intellectually lazy. They want to use tools of logic to take a very complicated big issue and simplify it, and not address how big and complicated the issue is, and won't let you inform them that it's more complicated than it is. And then they start throwing statistics at you. I've heard some deeply disturbing racist statistics on the internet. I've seen some deeply disturbing racial injustice in my life. And the entire notion that I'm Joseph Charles Price, and by no reason I can understand, I share a name with another man who is ironically like me and has inspired me to attempt to do a thing. And all of this has kind of been falling into places. I've been doing the sort of thing with myself and building a world that I'm talking about, that has shown provably to a fault, because I wasn't born into riches either, but I was born into a lot more privilege than that other Joseph Charles Price. I was born into a world in the future that knew more, that had access to more medicine, that I was born to people that had access to easier access to better education than him. And I have I have not done half of what he did with his life. I would be proud to be considered of half of his quality. That man, he is a great man. I take it as a burden of responsibility, a noble, honorable burden of responsibility to not tarnish his good name. And the idea that race in our country is the way it's being treated is repulsive. You know, I don't see, I look at the justice system and I don't see justice, period. And that's why I say the world is affecting me, because it's because I love people who the way this system is hurting. And I will die to make sure that it doesn't hurt these people that I love. And there are people who don't care. To them, me talking about race is it's a minor inconvenience that they have to see race. But I've lived with people that have taught me and had the patience and grace to let me stick my foot in my mouth and forgive me for it, to really learn the differences between the ways that people are actually treated by the system. And the depth of racial injustice in America is immense. It's immense, and it's happening. It's getting worse, because where I live, I'm surrounded by a Hispanic community, and the Hispanic community has been pretty sorely treated in this country and is being pretty sorely treated. Migrant farm workers work their fucking ass off for not dick of money, and they're treated like criminals instead of that bastards hiring them. What sort of world is this?
Yeah, I get it. I get it. One of the interesting things, I have an almost opposite view of what you have, though, about our government. I think our government needs to be cut. We need 25% of it. All these workers that you're complaining about getting cut, and the cancer research and all that, cut that shit. Cut that shit. They're talking about for-profit companies that are out here doing this. We don't need to spend government money.
Elon Musk can have another yacht. I'll be happy for him. But I want a world where people serve each other. I want a world where people are researching cancer, because I don't want cancer patients to die.
Well, the issue, unfortunately, is that we've got a bunch of programs going in our country now that are not effective, and we know it. Okay, we just know it.
I agree.
Okay, and so you're railing and you're going off the rails about something that personally I feel absolutely opposite than you. I feel the opposite. Okay. And so it's hard for me to do anything but just be nice to you and listen, because I think that you've gone overboard. I really do.
A lot of people do.
Okay.
A lot of people do. But when we're putting people who have committed the crime of doing what early American settlers did, coming to a land that isn't theirs to try to build a better life. No, you said you would let me listen. You said you'd let me.
Say it, buddy. Say it.
When I see that, because like Joseph Smith approaching and me saying, if it wasn't a sin for him to do it, why is it a sin for me to do it? When I look at people who have committed the sin of doing that, being taken into a prison, Guantanamo Bay, where we waterboarded terrorists in secret, I have deep concerns. Okay. I don't trust the people who are doing this, that their actions are noble at all, because that is some really twisted looking shit to me.
Well, okay, cool. Well, no problem. Okay. So let's take this philosophically and let's just go a different way with it just for a second. Let's do a mind game. Okay. Absolutely. I guarantee you that if we cared about immigration and we didn't want illegal immigrants in the country, and we put up a wall on any one of our borders, Mexico, Canada, anywhere. And we told anybody else, if you cross this border or if you try to cross this border, we're going to shoot you. Do you understand that? And we put it out across the world. When the third guy gets shot, how many more do you think you're going to cross? Okay, so now stop. Stop.
I have no idea.
Okay, good. You don't know, but don't answer. This is a mind thing. Okay, so I promise you that if that border is sealed and 3 different people tried to get across and they got shot, that over time illegal immigration across that border would absolutely stop. It would cease.
I don't think that's true.
Oh, it would if they knew that.
I fundamentally do not think that that's true. I think there's examples in the real world that demonstrate that's not the case.
Stop for a second. Go back to a mind experiment. Okay. A sealed border, nothing but automated machine guns. There's no physical way for a human to cross that border, and they get killed. There's 3 of them. Over time, they're going to be like, nope, I'm not going because I know I'm going to die too. Okay. That is one way we could stop immigration. Okay. But we don't want to do that. There's a whole racket of all this. These people that are over here without papers, that are over here, they know it. They know it. And that's their thing. So when the Fed says, hey, if you're here illegally, come out of the woods, let's talk about it. They need to come out of the woods and talk about it. If not, they're going to end up. I mean, I just don't understand what philosophically you have a problem with. If you are such a philosopher, then you got to go back to the original crime, which is they are the ones that did it, not us.
Well, I mean, original crime. We just arrested. An ICE raid just arrested a Native American in one of their suites.
Look, you're going to make mistakes in the world. You're going to make mistakes. There's going to be issues.
Well, we're allowed to make mistakes, but they're not. They get shot.
Well, okay, but you got to look at it from the aggregate. You got to look at it from a different perspective.
Everyone tells me how I got to look at things.
Well,
I'm telling you, I have my relationship with the divine. Okay, I have my relationship with reality. Don't tell me how I got to look at anything. I'm telling you my story, aren't I?
That's great, Price. One of the interesting things that I would suggest that you consider, okay, is look for happiness and peace instead of the discord that you're caught up on, okay?
Well, I mean, I'd love to, but when people I love are being assaulted, I don't see happiness and peace.
Then you need to change your thinking. You need to.
I mean, if somebody you loved was getting assaulted, would you just sit in the chair happy and peaceful?
Well, it's an interesting. Okay, so it's an interesting thing versus what we do versus whether we decide that we're happy and peaceful. Remember, those emotions that come through us. I can't tell you what to feel or not to feel. I can tell you how to react. I can tell you how a trained person who is using logically properly will see it and react to it, okay? You're not enjoying the things that I'm talking about right now, and that's fine. I don't have a problem with it. But if I love you and you're asking and talking about these things and we're going to have a real conversation, I'm going to tell you that you concern me with your unwillingness to kind of realize that you're in control of your own kind of emotions.
I mean, I am in control of my emotions.
So as a mantra, instead of getting boom, just choose peace.
I'm trying very desperately to choose peace. I'm trying very desperately to choose peace. But when I tell people that it's hard for me to feel peaceful, because it's hard for me to feel like I can be peaceful when I have a duty to protect somebody in an environment that isn't peaceful.
Okay, so let's talk about that, okay? So let's consider this for a second, okay? If you are charged with physically protecting somebody from death or harm or any of that, that's just not your place in the world. When you have a young child and you're protecting them from
I have children around me that I will protect.
Well, and that's fine, and that's cool. but the person that is being illegally has been arrested for an illegal immigration issue, you don't have any unless you help smuggle them across the border, or unless it's like your kin that you're involved in that with somehow. You have it's no consequence to you.
Well, I mean, I disagree in some ways because I have a civic duty to make sure that my country lives up to what it's supposed to be.
And we're just enforcing our simple laws that were already in place.
Well, I mean, sure, but our simple law, I don't think that our simple laws allow us to fucking take people and torture them.
Okay, whatever. That you're using that slippery slope. You're like
I'm warning the country about something that's happening.
One person, all of a sudden, there's an illegal alien, and next thing we're torturing him in Guantanamo Bay. Come on.
They are putting people in Guantanamo Bay. It's
because they're murderers and bad people that are in our country.
I don't know who they are.
But we hired somebody to take care of that. We hired.
Well, they're slashing everybody who's overseeing all of that.
They're what?
They're slashing everybody who's overseeing everything involved in all of that.
Well, good. Again, at every level, our government can do more with less. And it's not hard to deport people. It's not hard. These SWAT teams, they're not firing the SWAT teams.
I'm not here to convince you of anything. I'm here to share my story. And my story is one that I have deep concerns. I'm scared. I'm scared about a lot of things that I take very seriously. And that's a fundamental piece of my story. I think that there's a philosophical revolution on the cusp of happening where people are going to realize that the way the things are is broken and it's not serving anybody except for very, very few amount of people. And it's being very awfully brutal to a lot of people who don't really need to be brutalized for any reason. And I want to see a change, and I want people to think for themselves and evaluate their own realities and see how they might be able to affect that change, because it's not about me and I can't do it alone. And I just hope the message is heard by the people who are willing to listen to it and evaluate the situation in a very honest way. And that's all I can do. And
sounds good. So tell me more. Tell me, well, what comes to mind now?
I don't really have a lot that is coming to mind right now. I just
Did you get the book that I sent you?
Not yet. I haven't received it yet.
Really? Dang it. Dang. Oh my, I was going to check my Amazon and see where the heck it is. So that is a book that I really that is a book that helped change my life. Okay. I had a born again experience, not like a Christian born again, kind of like what Paul had on the side of the road or what Jesus had when he was baptized. I had something that changed me fundamentally. That changed my life from one day to another. It's actually recorded. I can send you some links so that you can see how it happened and all the stuff. And I used A Course in Miracles to help me get there and heal. My story is so much like yours. It's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. There's just the philosophical thought. Religion's missing the point here. We can do it better somehow. Long period of desert phase, self-discovery, then an attitude and long period of study, dedicated study, several years of study, and then an experience, boom, change of life, and now I'm well on this side, okay? A Course in Miracles helped me through that. It gave me the framework that the Bible was missing. The Bible and the Book of Joseph, in my opinion, Joseph Smith did it right. And he's just being denigrated over it. I am a big fan of his thought process. The things that he talks about, I experienced very similar to what he did. I would encourage you to read, and I'll buy you these books and I'll send you to them if you will commit to reading them. Okay. Jesus, My Autobiography, and the Disappearance of the Universe. And there's another one that I want you to just check out. It's the only one I have here, I think. Anyway, I'll send you these books. But A Course in Miracles is Jesus. It's Jesus in the Bible, but he's explaining the Bible. It's amazing. And there's a 365-day workshop, workbooks, lessons. It's really amazing. The thing that you're going to love is the terms and manual for teachers. You are a teacher. Okay. That's what you came here for. You came here to this earth to teach something, to teach us. If you will look at manual for teachers, you will gain something. It may not match up perfectly, okay, because our worlds are differently, but that book is for me, okay? And I'm going to tell you, when you share your philosophical things, we're here, man. We're goosebumps, dude. You and I are on the same team. I promise you, okay? Do you mind if I share something with you about that? Can we do an exercise real quick?
About philosophy?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, good. All right, so I'm gonna pull some stuff up real quick. Just bear with me. All right. Clarification of terms. Boom. Okay. There we go. All right. Let me share my screen. Sure. All right. I assume you can kind of see this now. Yeah. All right. Okay. So this is just a clarification of terms, and so this is clarifying the same. This is the same Jesus that we both know. All right. So, and again, you've heard me say that I feel as if I'm in heaven. Okay. So there is no need for help to enter heaven, for you have never left, but there is need for help beyond yourself, as you are circumscribed by false beliefs of your identity, which God alone established in reality. Helpers are given you in many forms, although upon the altar they are one. Beyond each one there's a thought of God, and this will never change. But they have names which differ for a time. You were talking about names. The time needs symbols, being itself unreal. Their names are legion, right? The names you were talking about are legion. But we will not go beyond names. The course itself employs. God does not help because he knows no need. But he creates all helpers of his son while he believes his fantasies are true. Thank God for them, for they will lead you home. The name of Jesus is the name of one who was a man, but saw the face of Christ and all his brothers and remembered God. So he became identified with Christ, a man no longer, but at one with God. The man was an illusion, for he seemed to be a separate being, walking by himself within a body that appeared to hold himself from self, as all illusions do. Yet who can save unless he sees illusions and then identifies them as what they are? Jesus remains a savior because he saw the false without accepting it as true, and Christ needed his form that he might appear to men and save them from their own illusions. This is really true for me, right? This is the Christ that I see in the Bible, and by his complete. Go ahead.
I mean, I've always liked the figure of Jesus Christ.
Right. So I'm gonna go all the way down here to section 5 here. Is he the Christ? Okay. Is Jesus historically who we know, the Christ? Yes. Oh, yes, along with you. Like you're the Christ too. Me and you both were Christ in our own world. That's what Jesus was teaching us, is that we have to save our own world. We have to be happy in our own skin. Okay. So is he the Christ? Oh, yes, along with you. His little life on earth was not enough to teach the mighty lesson that he learned for all of you. He will remain with you to lead you from the hell you made to God. And when you join your will with his, your sight will be his vision, for the eyes of Christ are shared. And then it talks about, walking with him is just as natural as walking with a brother. And it goes on. If you could possibly begin to, see yourself as the Christ of your own world, and then continue doing exactly what you're doing, helping
Well,
others. Right?
I personally feel pretty balanced about my place in my reality.
Yeah. I love it. You should, because you're already here. You're already in heaven doing all the things you're doing. The
Well, I
thing
mean,
that I want Joseph
what I
Price
want
to
to
think
do is
about.
to help people see a better way to live, and I think through doing this, I have allowed people to hear most of what I have to say, and anybody who wants to hear more of what I have to say, like I can be reached through email, and I'm happy to share all of my knowledge with everybody, and I'm willing to do it for free. And I have a lot of different stories and allegories that are useful lessons, and I think I think they need to be shared. I think we need to have people like willing to talk about these things in a way that's outside of the systems of certification and academia. I don't think that academia needs to not exist, but I think our society needs to transform some of the rigidities that it has, and be a little more honest with how we're thinking about approaching the news that we see, and considering that the actions that we support, and making sure that they are ones that align with the way that we want others to be treated, that that we think that people deserve to be treated, and be willing to potentially even risk our own discomfort in order to work together to build a world that's worth living in, because this world is very, very sick, and and it's very hard for me to imagine in its current form moving forward and not being filled with tragedy. And that's my opinion, and nobody has to take it. Nobody has to take it. I can only do my piece of it. I can only do my piece. But I do know that there are important lessons, and there are things that are happening in the world that could be a great awakening for people. I think that in physics we see things happening that expand what reality means in ways that are extremely interesting, that could really alter the world if people are willing to broach their acceptance of approach to it. I looked at this man. His name was, I'm going to get him exactly. When I was in a very low spot, I encountered him. His name was Paul Alexander. He was the last person living in an iron lung. He lived to be fairly old. He had a remarkable life, and I think people should look into it, and unpack some of those lessons. He was a young kid who got hit with polio, and he ended up in an iron lung. And like at the time they were warehouse, he was in a warehouse in an iron lung, and he sat there and he was watching people around him, like getting to talk to him and watching. I was liking that kid. Where'd they take him? Because he died. Later he learned all these things, and he watched death over and over and over, and learned these lessons. And look at my life and all the pains I've been through and all the things I've tried to overcome, and I would be stuck asking myself this to be or not to be question, this why am I here? Why am I doing this? Like I don't like this world at all. I don't like the way people are. I don't like the way people treat each other. Why am I here? You know? And ultimately I get to a point where the only reason I was here was just to not hurt people by leaving. You know? But in honor of not hurting them by leaving, I just was trying to trudge it out and trying to just not do my best to not be a burden on them. Hey, this Paul Alexander guy, I look at him and you watch an interview with this guy, and you watch his interview, Paul Alexander in the Iron Lung, as he's telling his life story. The man was given every reason to want to die. I love living where I live because I've lived a difficult life that's made me a very salt of the earth person, made me very empathetic towards other people's, and it has been people I can relate to a lot around me because they too have gone through very challenging things. And all of these people I've met, I can think of no one that would trade their life for that, to be totally paralyzed, to be stuck in an iron lung, and to be living at just the benevolent grace of people who love you, you know. And this man isn't bitter. He does. You can't hear. He isn't bitter about anything in his life. You can hear it in his voice. And the guy, by some personal metric of himself and the human spirit, he produced an amazing life. He became a successful lawyer. How? I looked at that, and like I was saved by all these people that picked me up when I was out. I was homeless. You know, like I was only kept off the street by people who were willing to pick me up when I just didn't have anything left, when I had no way to support myself, when I couldn't make ends meet because I was broken, and I couldn't figure out how to get the VA to work for me. And they advocated for me and made me survive. And I got to a place where I could just live, and it made the voices telling me to get the fuck out of this place to quiet, and brought me some peace. And in that peace, I just started kind of moving forward and trying to pay forward some of that. But I was so tired scraping at bedrock every day. It was so hard to get out of bed to brush my teeth. I didn't some days. And it's still something I fight and I struggle with in my battle with the human condition. But when I saw that man, I said I want to do that. He went through so much more than I did and faced such wilder obstacles than I have. And I had missed the value of what was done for me. I wanted to take that care that was given to me, and I wanted to turn it into unimaginable returns like he did. How did he do it? He's made of the same stuff I'm made of. There has to be something behind this bedrock. I have to find it. I have to fight a little bit harder today. And when I took that step, I took another step, and then I took another step. And I started finding more and more power to start helping the people around me. And as I started to not care about myself or my ego or anything, I just, what do I need? You know, my needs are fulfilled. And every time I try to help people, it blossoms into events of deep fundamental fulfillment. When I try to listen to people, it transforms the world around me. When I stopped trying to tell people what they need to do and what they need to see and how they need to act and what their opinions need to be, and instead just told them, this is my tale if you want to hear it opens something. And as I look at these misplaced logics I talk about, and this physics that I talk about, and in logic, in language logic, it's a two value system, false and true, right? You have a preposition and an antecedent, and a conclusion. And you say, if I give you $1, if you get an A, I'll give you $1, and you can map out the different values of truth to this in a discrete mathematics. You could say, if it's true that I give you $1, if it's true that you get an A, and it's true that I give you $1, the statement is true. If it's false that you get an A and I give you a dollar, then it can't be false, so it's true. And if it's true that that you got an A, and false that I give you $1, then the statement is false. And if it's false that you got an A and I didn't give you $1, then the thing is, part of that is kind of funky, because this two value system includes a place where we've said true to a statement that's meaningless. We're getting access to places of, I don't know, man. I don't know. I just want people to be better at each other, I guess. And I'm working towards it.
Okay, so let's talk about what I think might be helpful. Okay, might be helpful for what we got going on. You said that you had a project that you want to do. Okay, what let's do is, what if you were to put together like a 10 to 15 minute lesson, maybe a parable or something that you take and prepare, and then we'll come on the next time and you kind of present it to me and we'll talk about it. Like if you could say, here's the concepts of the thought problem, and you could map. I don't know what it might be, but what if I said, okay, I love what we're doing. I absolutely do. I love you. I love your spirit. You are exactly what God has provided for me and the world at this time. Okay. To judge you as anything less is the most fucked up thing I could ever do. Right. I need to look at you as God's flower, as the Christ, the other Christ that just stepped into the room with me. Okay. So I'm trying to think of the best way that the Spirit is going to help me to relate to you. And so I think that's the thing. I think my job to do for you is to give you a platform to let you bloom and blossom.
And you have, and I hope people hear my message, and the people who hear what I'm saying, they're welcome to reach out to me. And I think I said a website a little earlier that it's small at this point, and I may add more to it. I want to found a school of thought that is not of enrollment, and it's just a place to access things that I find important, and that might help people reapproach life. And I want to foster an idea of community that we need deeply to help each other live better. Because I think a lot of people need that. I think a lot of people need hope, and I want to be able to do everything I can to provide it. And I'm committed to that. And I don't know how it's going to unfold. I have confidence that there are forces working with me in my reality, and I hope the same becomes true for other people as they maybe test my hypothesis for themselves.
It is neat. I've heard several philosophers say that the world always finds things that are simple, elegant, and fascinating down to the deepest detail. That's the only thing that our world provides for us if we're looking for good. Simple, magnificent, and amazing to look at down at the lowest level. Okay, so let's think about a week from now, and that's not in stone, okay? But
Okay.
let's just think about maybe next Monday about noon, you'll have a 10 to 15-minute lesson. Maybe it's 5 minutes, okay? Maybe it's 25 minutes. That's not a big deal. But if you'll just shoot for maybe 10 to 15 minutes and of you kind of giving a lesson, if you need visual aids,
Yeah, I will deeply consider how I want to move forward on it, and I really do appreciate the opportunity to speak to a wider audience than I have access to, because I've learned so much in life that has been because of the life that I've happened to live, and I have things that I think people have. I have an ability to give people information of value to them in their personal life if they want it, and I I want to help. I want to be part of making this a better world.
amen.
I'm
Hey,
actively striving to, and help me help us, and I will continue to try to get involved in the world around me in the best way I can see fit, because I'm here to be a person seeking to fulfill my civic responsibility of protecting this world from killing itself.
okay, okay.
Yep.
Let me tell you something. I have enjoyed the crap out of this. I love you, dude.
I
I
love
love
you too.
you. All those hours and years we spent together as part of a team. You
Yeah,
know,
I mean, there were wild times. We
tell
had
tell
some real fun times.
tell me a little bit about what you remember from your army times and what you remember about coming to the unit and those kinds of things. Tell
Well,
me
like
about that stuff.
it's really interesting when I came to the unit. When I came to the unit, it was right when we were getting ready to go to Yuma. Like, I was fresh in the unit. Like, I had just hit permanent party. I was so fresh in permanent party that I didn't understand how like I was just getting into the process of doing PMCS, on Monday, and I didn't really know Yuma. Like, I didn't know how big of a thing it was. Like,
Okay.
I
Yeah.
had no, like, okay, we're going to go on training exercise. I guess this is the thing that happens when you're active duty. And so I, on the day we're getting ready to ship everything out, I'm doing the PMCS and doing it as well as I can, crawling under the car, under one of the hemmets, and I see oil on the ground, a drop of oil on the ground. And so I go, shit, that's class 3 leak. And I deadline the vehicle right before we go to Yuma. I was so pissed at me. I didn't know. I felt so like everyone's like, "What the fuck did you do?" That's a pretty funny one.
Oh, so who you were a launcher dog,
Oh,
right?
Captain Ruth was so fucking pissed.
Who was your team chief? Was it you and
uh, at that time, it was Sergeant Bainey. I
oh,
was a launcher and under Bainey and Lucero, and Bainey was like, "What the fuck are you doing?" like, do you know that they got it now? Now we got to take it into the fucking shop for one little drop of stupid oil. Like, you idiot.
oh
Like,
wow.
this is what you trained me. Like, well, I didn't do anything wrong.
How
I'm
how
doing my
dare
job
I
the
follow
best
the
I know how.
procedures? Oh wow, that's great, man.
Just
That's
funny
great. What else
coincidence.
do you remember
My
about
life
all
is
this stuff?
filled with hilarious coincidence. Like it's been a thing that's made it hard for me to not go insane, because in the face of trying to go, like, make sense of the world, I'm constantly hit with things that are just oblique impossibilities that are undeniably real. You know, a guy with my exact name who has the exact same sort of spirit that I have, but also is better than me in a world where people are trying to convince me that he's inferior to me because of the color of his skin, when it's patently clear that given less opportunity than me and less time than me, and just totally blew all of my best efforts out of the freaking water and becomes an undersung American hero and that I never knew existed. A story about a guy who did one of the most remarkable lives I've ever lived that I didn't even know was possible, to help me answer a question that was confounding me and help me find strength again, a second wind in a life that I was just barely scratching away at, in a way that's helped me step forward and be able to help people that in a way that I didn't think I would be possible to, just because I realized that I wanted it, and I think a little bit of synergy between two people, it has the capacity to produce effects that are just beyond two people. That's the way my reality works. And I think if people really stop trying to compare, trying to be lazy about the way that they read what other people are, or tell people how they need to approach things in the construct of their heads, and trust each other that they carry the spark of the divine within them, and that they can make their own judgments, and I can assess them on their own terms, and not be a judge of who they are, because why do I need to?
I love it.
Yeah, but I will consider which ways I want to move forward, because I am hitting kind of a wall of apophenia, of just I think I kind of tranced through most of what I wanted to get out of me, and I'm just glad I have the platform to do it. And I think that because I've done it, people are going to take those messages and lessons, and it will have its impact. And I trust the world to unfold in a way that is productive. And because I put myself out here in an act of pure hope and selflessness to do so, and I found that effort is rewarded in my reality.
Amen. Amen. Dude, I love the way you frame it. I am so thankful that we've connected the way we have. You are always one of the guys that I could rely on, right? You were the one.
I'm glad to hear that, because I always tried to be.
Yeah,
even
you
if I deadline vehicles right before we go on a joint training exercise, a state away.
You look. I want the guy that's going to find the leak and report it, right?
Yeah,
I don't want the one that's going to ignore it.
I didn't know exactly the implications of what I had done, but I did do my job right. Sorry.
Remember, we're about to go on the hugest trip that we're going on. We need to find the leaks now.
Right? Well, when we got there, the one of the crane trucks, one of the reloaders,
right?
It had a class 15 leak that became an absolute freaking nightmare for everybody. So, doing the proper PMCS may have not have been the worst thing, right?
It was the perfect. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I mean, Price. Dude, you were a rock for me and us, and you played your role very well.
I always tried to serve and fulfill my duty as best as I could, even if I am very forgetful and I don't have a good sleeping rhythm, and I am late for formations, and it sucks. I'm always late for fucking formation.
I'm going to tell you, man, I love you so much. I'm so proud of you. Okay, so next Monday, we'll talk between now and then. Next Monday, get with me, and we'll do a class. We'll probably spend an hour, but 10 or 15 minutes of it, I want it to be a formal little class where you say, okay, this is what I think we need to learn, okay? And if you want to focus at me, like, this is what I would like to teach, Will, okay?
Okay.
Right? Because that'll help me, because
I think that will be I think that would be good. I look forward to it.
I would love that.
And thank you for this opportunity.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So I'm gonna stop recording this and then stay with me, okay?
Okay.